Jin Seo-woon was a 23-year-old ex-soldier with a simple plan: study hard, get his degree, and finally catch up on the life he'd missed during military service. Most of his free time went into Loyal Ground, a survival battle royale game where he'd risen into the top 10. But even then, he knew it was time to quit and focus on the future. But one morning, when he went to college as usual, everything changed. Suddenly, a purple glow appears behind him and completely envelopes his entire body. Before he can react, he disappears off the face of the planet, leaving only his bag behind. Our boy wakes up in a strange world surrounded by all types of people who speak a weird language. Looking around, the only question that comes to his mind is, where the hell am I? Just a few moments earlier, he got sucked into a dark space and wondered if it was a punishment for studying. He suddenly wakes up to the sound of people arguing and fighting around him. To him, it seems like they're all cosplayers, since most of them appear to be from ancient times or novels. Just as he is wondering where he is, he hears a voice in his head announcing that 100 players have been detected and the system will now begin its installation. After the system is successfully installed, he can now understand what the other people are saying. Some of them appear to be in the same state of confusion as he, while others are fighting like they are sworn enemies. His eyes fall on an elven mage who asks the Demon King if he is the one who brought them to this place. The demon laughs and says that he wanted to ask him the same thing. However, it doesn't matter since everyone is fated to kneel in front of him. The mage gets furious hearing this and prepares his attack, promising to destroy the entire demon kingdom. He hits him with a powerful lightning strike, but to his surprise, the Demon King is still unharmed. Even the Demon King is confused that he is still alive after he took the direct hit of his magic spell. While the two of them continue to argue, our boy realizes that this is too realistic to be a dream. Suddenly, the system announces the start of their game. According to the game settings, the difficulty has been set to easy, and their goal is to make it to the top 90. They will be playing on a map called King Kingdom's Capital and will receive rewards if they make it to the top 10. The system also notifies them that they won't receive any damage while being in the waiting room. Seo-woon looks at the hologram in front of him and wonders if it's the game map. For new players, the system briefly explains the game, telling them that it will be played for 100 days with the map area becoming slightly smaller with each passing day. For all the Zoomers, it's basically Fortnite. The system explains that players will take damage outside the limited zone. The game will end with only one person standing. When someone dies or the game finishes, they return to their original world. Also, players who don't reach the top 90 can't play this game again. After explaining everything, the system tells them they'll drop at a location they choose using Arga's gaze. Hearing this, our boy wonders, am I really dreaming about Loyal Ground? He walks past the other players, realizing he might die, but he wants to survive and win the rewards. Suddenly, someone calls out to him, breaking his thoughts. The guy, carrying a huge sword, asks, "Where are you from?" You keep looking around. Our boy stays silent, smirking. The guy gets angry. "Why are you laughing?" he asks. Seo-woon shows him the middle finger, thinking, "I'm laughing because I'm in such a fun dream. With my Loyal Ground knowledge, I can beat idiots like him easily." The game begins, and all the players fall from the sky. The MC notices most players are dropping in crowded places with more items. He decides to play it safe and drop on the outskirts of the map. After looking around, he finds a decent spot to land. Soon after landing, he feels motion sickness and hears a sound. Sweat drips down his face. Did someone else land with me? He wonders. Did I miss them because of the motion sickness? He knows he needs to find a weapon to fight back. He rushes into a house and closes the door. Is it the sword guy I made angry? He thinks. Looking out the window, he realizes it was just the wind. The sound is almost gone. He can now search the house for items. While walking around, he finds a heavy crossbow and picks it up. Thanks to the game, he instantly learns how to use it. He was also a sergeant in the military. Testing the weapon isn't hard. He aims at a wooden pillar. As soon as he pulls the trigger, the impact sends him back. The bow shatters the pillar and hits the one behind it. This could be useful if I learn to use it right, he thinks. He looks for more weapons, but finds nothing. He decides to move on. The map is still big. So, if he doesn't encounter any enemies early on, he can safely farm for more items. His search leads him to another abandoned house, where he finds a healing scroll. The system notifies him that he can heal his wounds by ripping the scroll. He thinks to himself that he needs more recovery items and a bag to carry everything. Suddenly, he notices a book shining on the bookshelf behind him. It turns out to be the Black Star Chi Palm's martial arts book, which allows players to project hidden weapons through their fingers. The system asks him if he wants to learn the book, and he confirms it. He wonders if it will start a tutorial. To his surprise, all the information from the book flows into his mind in seconds. He stares at his hands for a bit. Then, he picks up a fork to test the new skill. As he throws it, the fork pierces the wall in front of him, almost like a knife. Our boy lets out a confident smile as he realizes that he has learned a martial arts technique. While taking the fork out of the wall, he thinks to himself that there must be magic books as well, since there are martial arts books. In any case, he is confident that this game, Cloyd Survival, and Loyal Ground are the same. After looking everywhere for the item, he decides that it's time to move somewhere else. The day turns to night as he searches for a new place. Finally, he comes across a house with one of its lights still on. He gets a bit scared as he realizes that it's either a rare hidden item or another player. Slowly, he starts moving inside while making as little noise as possible. Our boy still doesn't know if the person inside is good at the game or not. While hiding by the stairs, he tries to get a sense of their location, but he can't hear anything. This makes him wonder if the player is hiding on the second floor. He starts planning to ambush them using his weapon and the Black Star Chi Palms. This way, even if they're good at the game, they might stand a chance. He slowly moves up with his crossbow pointed forward. But to his surprise, he can only see a lantern with no players in sight. This can still be a trap. So, he kicks open the doors to one of the rooms nearby, but finds it empty. Finally, realizing that he had made a fool of himself, he drops to the ground. However, he is also a bit relieved that he didn't find any players inside. While searching for items, he finds a glowing ring that increases a player's strength by 20 when worn. As soon as he puts on the ring, his body starts to feel much stronger. The crossbow on his back is also much lighter now. Realizing that he can increase his strength, he guesses there must be other stats as well. So, he opens up his stat window and finds out that his own stats are quite pathetic. He notices that he has the martial arts class. He wonders if it's because of the book that he learned. Still, this is a huge improvement compared to what he had when he landed. He decides to search through the rest of the property. He finds a subspace ring. This is exactly what he needs, as it allows him to store his items in a subspace. All he has to do is touch the ring and think of the word subspace. He can also touch it with his other hand while thinking of the item to take it out. It feels a bit strange to use, but it's still useful, as he doesn't have to carry a bag around. After storing all his items in the subspace, he starts thinking about the remaining players. Going into the interface, he looks at the remaining survivors, only to find out that there are still 99 players left. Seo Woon was planning on farming till there were only 90 people left, but he is quite happy with his items and abilities. So, he decides to move on for now. Even though it seems logical to wait for sunlight, he decides to move at night, since there will be fewer people outside. He can simply go undetected and farm in one more location before morning. While moving through the forest, he realizes that he doesn't feel tired. However, he still experiences hunger and thirst, which makes him wonder if there's food in the city. According to the map he saw, the food should be just outside the forest, but he can't locate the houses. While he is thinking, he suddenly hears a growling noise from behind. Without even looking back to see what it is, he runs forward to find a place to hide. As he peeks back, a huge werewolf appears right in front of him. The werewolf tries slashing him with his claws, but he is quick enough to dodge and runs away. It turns out that he not only has to look out for other players, but monsters as well. He frantically runs towards the nearest shelter, as he doesn't want to die to some lame monsters while being a pro at this game in real life. His heart beats at an incredible rate as he hides inside the house, wondering what he should do next. The werewolves follow his scent to the house, and he knows that they will find him eventually. Therefore, he decides to be the first to attack and shoots one of them directly in the head with an arrow. The headshot instantly kills one of them, but the other suddenly charges at the house. The werewolf slashes the door and cuts his face slightly. With nowhere left to run, he moves back a bit and shoots at the monster. However, this one has quick reflexes, so he uses his hands to shield himself from the arrow and jumps at him with rage. With the massive monster just inches away from him, he wonders if this is the end. Suddenly, something clicks in him. He takes out a dagger from his subspace, quickly throwing it at the werewolf using his martial arts technique. The impact is so strong that it creates a literal hole in the body of the werewolf. Even with the monster dead, he still couldn't control his nerves, as he really thought that he was going to die. He sits down, thankful that he stashed the dagger in his subspace. Otherwise, he will have died to some random monsters in the game. A glowing bag on the ground distracts him from his thoughts. He wonders if this is loot from the monsters. Turns out, it's water and jerky, which makes him realize that he can hunt monsters for food. While eating, he starts walking around the house, searching for anything useful, when he comes across a piece of armor that looks similar to a bulletproof vest. The armor immediately adjusts to his own size, while increasing his resistance against fire and wind magic. This makes his build a lot more dynamic, and he starts searching for something else. Just as he thinks he won't find anything, he accidentally kicks a hidden piece of cloth. It turns out to be a night cloak that grants invisibility during the night if a person stays still. This is a great item for him, as it means that he can go around at night without being seen. He was a bit confused about this house, but it turned out to be a good farming spot. As he moves out, he realizes that he hasn't seen a single player yet, which might have to do with his landing spot. His wish is granted as soon as he hears someone running in the distance. The guy seems to be badly injured and talks about not having the time to use an item. Our boy is still hiding in the trees, following his every move. He thinks about taking him out, but for some reason, his hands start shaking since he is about to kill another person. While he is arguing with his own morality, a mage appears from behind and finishes the guy off using his flame spell. Seo Woon is lost for words as he witnesses a man getting burned alive in front of him. All that is left of the man is a chest containing his loot, which makes our boy feel a bit better as he remembers that this is just a game. The mage walks right in front of him, talking about how the guy wanted to steal his items. The MC is shocked as he completely ignores him and walks past. While the mage is busy taking all the loot, our boy realizes that the person he just killed was someone like him. He might even be the next guy who gets killed by the mage. The moment he hesitates, someone will kill him and take his loot. With all these thoughts in mind, Seo Woon shoots an arrow at the mage. Unfortunately, the mage has a shield surrounding him, so the arrow doesn't pass through. He is a bit scared of attracting another player and starts blaming the guy for being too loud. Without warning, the MC shoots another arrow, further damaging the shield. The mage knows that if this continues, he might lose the shield and die. He randomly uses his flame spell to try and scare him off, but it doesn't work. The next arrow pierces through the shield, destroying it completely. With this, the mage starts panicking and frantically tries to cast another spell. However, before he can finish, a dagger flies into his head, killing him instantly. Seo Woon finally shows his face, realizing that he has won. He knows that he has to get out of here as soon as possible since more players might come, following the flames. As he takes their items, he notices a gold necklace and a circular stone. The stone allows a player to use magic spells. It reminds him of the guy who regretted not having time to use an item. Thinking that he might be talking about this stone, he smiles and says that he will put it to good use in his name. However, he can't just test all the items here, so he decides to go somewhere safe. After finding a hiding spot, he picks up the stone, and the system notifies him that he won't be able to move for 3 hours after he uses the item. He spends the entire time motionless in pain, but the result of his hard work is totally worth it. He now has the mage class mentioned in front of his martial arts class. This means that he can also use magic. Thinking about the 2 players who died yesterday, he decides to check the remaining survivor count. What he sees takes him by surprise. The survivor count has dropped by nearly 50, and there are only 45 players left. Apparently, a player named Nam Sagwang is dominating the entire lobby. He is smuffing an ancient Fortnite. Scene change. 3 hours ago, in another location, we see Sagwang bullying another player. The guy begs him not to kill him as he wants to make it to the top 90. But he isn't here to leave some easy kills. He aura farms a bit by ignoring his items completely and wonders if the players in the lobby recognize his name by now. It's now day 3 of the survival game, and Seo Woon wakes up to see that the survivor count has dropped to 45 players. The entire scoreboard is filled with Sagwang's name, so he knows who he needs to avoid. He suddenly realizes that he might be able to make it to the top 10 if players continue to die like this. Before the game started, the system announced that the top 10 rankers would get a reward, and he starts wondering what it might be. While he is busy thinking, he realizes that there is a killer running around. So, he should quickly finish his search and keep moving. Since he used the magic circle earlier, he can now feel a power coming from within him. He guesses that it's probably mana. To test his new ability, he takes out the magic book he found yesterday. He uses it to learn the spell directly in his head. Afterwards, he chants the spell and creates 4 magic balls in the air. This feels a bit underwhelming. He mindlessly throws the balls away, thinking they're useless. However, when the balls make contact with the wall, they cause a huge explosion that destroys it. This makes him realize that he can use this spell after all. Suddenly, his body starts to feel tired because he is out of mana. With the passage of time, the map becomes smaller and smaller. He still stays at the edges to avoid encountering any players. Moreover, half of them have already died, so his chances of running into one of them are pretty low. Still, he knows that he needs to hurry up and finish farming before the map becomes even smaller. While he walks to his next destination, an old man stalks him from a tree. He finds his movements interesting. A few hours later, Seo Woon finally reaches his next farming spot and notices a bunch of looted chests. Realizing that someone is nearby, he suddenly turns around and blasts the area with his windball spell. An explosion destroys the entrance to the building, but it turns out to be a false alarm since nobody seems to be there. Just then, he notices a blood trail on the wall inside. He realizes that a player might be injured. However, since they have survived until now, he guesses that it's probably someone strong. With these thoughts in mind, he decides not to risk it and leaves the place. His hunch turns out to be correct, as there's actually an injured player hiding inside. The player watches him leave and comes out, thinking that he could have killed him if he wasn't injured. Before he can loot any of the chests outside, an arrow pierces his head and turns him into one of those chests. Our boy just played a little trick called baiting an opponent and secured another kill. Just as he thinks about leaving, the old man appears behind him and says that he looks pretty skilled. This scares the crap out of him, but the old guy assures him that there is nothing to worry about since he is here just to ask a few questions. Seo Woon is still shaken and asks him who he is. But instead of giving him an answer, the old man asks him if he would know who he is, even if he told him, since they are all from different lives. His way of speaking calms down our boy a bit, and he seems to be different from everyone else he has come across so far. The old guy asks him if he has participated in this game before. He reveals that he has been stalking him for a while, noticing that he adapted to the game pretty fast. The MC wondered how he hadn't noticed the old man following him. "This is my first time in this game," he said, "but I played a game similar to this in my own world." The old man was curious about the game. "But it's getting dark," he observed, "so we probably need to move somewhere safe." He turned to Seo Woon. "Is the moon in your world also as big as the moon in this game?" he asked. Seo Woon looked up. He realized he had never noticed the moon before. It was, in fact, a lot bigger than the moon back home. The same was true for the old man. "Can you explain more about the game?" the old man asked, bringing the conversation back on track. "We might get ambushed if we continue talking here," Seo Woon warned. The old man agreed. "We should move somewhere else," he suggested. Seo Woon was still worried about getting killed. "Can you give me some assurance?" he asked. The old man simply said, "I already know I won't kill you." Suddenly, he grabbed Seo Woon and moved at incredible speed. In an instant, they crossed the entire forest, stopping on top of a tree. It was at this place that Seo Woon began to explain everything about the game. The old man seemed intrigued by his words. "Your world sounds like a magical place," he commented. Seo Woon struggled to balance himself. "It's a place of a highly advanced civilization," he replied. The old man nodded. "That must be why you were able to adapt so quickly to this game," he said. He revealed that he had been with Seo Woon from the moment he arrived. "Initially, I planned to enjoy the fresh air on the high mountains for the entire duration of the game," he admitted, "but I got interested in your way of playing." The old man assured him, "I only decided to talk to you because I was curious about why we were brought here, and I mean no harm." Seo Woon revealed, "I also have no idea why we were brought here. Back in my world, the game is only played for fun, and no one dies for real," he added. "In this case, I have no idea what the motives of those supernatural beings are who abducted us from our worlds." After a pause, he continued, "I'm confident that they might give us some reward at the end." The old man looked at him curiously. "What are you talking about?" he asked. Seo Woon explained, "Players don't die for real when they are killed in the game. This probably means that they are sent back to their original worlds with a rank based on their performance in the game. The rewards we receive might be the items we collected during the game." Hearing this, the old man asked, "Are you talking about the things on my body?" Seo Woon elaborated, "We may even be able to bring back the martial arts techniques we learn here. It might not be much for you," he said, "but for others who are struggling, it could be life-changing." The old man questioned why he thought his life had no struggles. To this, the MC replied that he appeared to be a martial arts master with thousands of followers in his world. So, compared to that, he was nothing in his original life. This made the old man laugh, and he asked why he kept hovering his fingers in the air. Night turned to day as our MC continued to teach the old man all the rules and tricks of the game. He dropped him off somewhere safe and apologized for taking up so much of his time. Before leaving, he asked if he wanted something in return for his help. Without hesitation, Seo Woon asked if he could learn his martial arts techniques. The old guy looked at him seriously and revealed that it wasn't impossible. However, he should be prepared for the worst, and by worst, he meant death. According to him, to succeed outside traditional methods, one must pay a hefty price. After his dramatic speech, Seo Woon reminded him that no one actually dies in this game. This brought the old guy back to reality, and he said that it might be possible for him to use that method. Impatiently, our boy asked if it was possible for him to get stronger, and he said that it was worth a try. The first thing he needed to do was check how much energy he had. To do that, the old guy put his palm on his head and immediately became terrified. He realized that his inner energy was even less than that of his house dog. In our boy's defense, he lived in a world without magic or martial arts, so it was understandable. In any case, the old man asked him to sit in the lotus position and began the process. He warned him that he would feel pain close to death and wouldn't be able to move. All he could do was endure the pain, as he would die if he failed to do so. As he started the energy transfer, Seo Woon began to feel everything surrounding him. He could even hear his own heartbeat, and each breath felt like lava entering his lungs. The pain was so intense that he started to wonder if he was really going to die. Finally, after enduring excruciating pain, he opened his eyes and felt his entire body trembling. Slowly, the old man lifted his hand and told him that it was over. He mentioned that his body wasn't too bad, since he actually endured the pain without dying. Now that he had fixed the flow of qi, his body would be different from before. Seo Woon had no idea what that meant, so he asked what he needed to do next. The guy reminded him that he wanted to be stronger fast and revealed that he had pushed his soul a bit away and created an inspirational gate in that space. Normally, people can only absorb qi using breathing techniques. However, thanks to the empty space in his soul, he could absorb energy in other ways too. People consist of three things: body, mind, and soul. All of these are held together by life qi. When a person dies, their life qi doesn't simply vanish, but disperses and gets absorbed by the nature around them, thus continuing the cycle of life. However, there are those who consider this cycle a waste and prefer killing others to absorb their qi. This doesn't always work, as the qi stays in an unstable state, and in the end, they either lose their martial arts or die. The mind technique he just etched in his body will allow him to absorb the life qi of people who have died to increase his inner energy. Seo Woon gets worried hearing this and asks him, "Are you also going to die?" The old man says, "I'm a bit different since I actually tweak my soul to create a gate for qi to enter. Moreover, I don't really have any inner energy. So, my body is like a blank sheet, and I can absorb the life qi harmoniously." Finally, since they are in a game, he can freely use a forbidden technique like this, since nobody actually dies in this game. They simply move back to their original world. In order to survive, he needs to eliminate the other players and absorb their energy. If he does that, he will reach a phenomenal level at the end of the 100 days. After dropping his insane wisdom and techniques, the old man says farewell and decides to leave. Seo Woon quickly stops him and asks for his name. The old man gives him a wise look and reveals that his name is Jang Dachin, but everyone calls him the Deep Valley, standing kindly. Moreover, the technique he just taught him is called the White Martial Physique Arts. Before leaving, he advises him to focus on his breathing, as it will help accumulate inner energy and make him stronger. The two finally say goodbye, and he leaves faster than the wind. Seo Woon starts to think that if he can master this technique, he might also be able to move like the old man. But for now, he needs to move to the edge of the map. The old man took him to the center of the map in an instant. But now that he is walking back, he realizes the true scale of this map. It turns to night as he finally reaches some houses. One of them has a lantern, which makes him suspicious that someone is inside. He quickly makes his way inside while keeping his crossbow ready. However, it turns out to be nothing, so he starts farming. Unfortunately for him, that doesn't go well either, and all he finds are useless items. In any case, he decides to rest for a bit, as he feels too tired. He wakes up from his sleep the next morning to the sound of someone moving around. Without wasting any time or making a sound, he grabs his crossbow and camps in front of the door. As soon as the man opens it, he fires an arrow aimed straight at his head. The other player seems to be a skilled martial artist, so he quickly slices the arrow in half. At the same time, Seo Woon uses his Black Star Chi Palm to throw multiple daggers at him. The daggers successfully break through his defense. This is enough to break his composure, and he gets thrown down to the ground. Our boy kicks the sword out of his hand and prepares to impale the arrow into his head. The man knows that it's over, so he starts begging for his life and offers him all his items. However, he gets killed the next second. Seo Woon mentions that he also needs to survive. Surprisingly, he can see a green glow around the chest dropped by the player. And by the looks of it, the glow seems to represent his life chi. The MC raises his hand and starts absorbing all the energy, which immediately makes him feel much stronger. Even though he has just absorbed one person's life chi, his body feels much lighter and stronger. He opens his window to check his stats and notices a new category showcasing his inner energy. Currently, he is at 20 points. All this makes him excited, but he knows that he can't just rely on getting kills and his inner energy. He will eventually need other ways to get stronger too. During the time he was busy collecting chi, the player count dropped to 24, and it's only the 5th day of the game. Another name suddenly comes up on the kill feed, and it's none other than Nam Sagwon. The guy is a complete monster, and he continues obliterating every other player in the game. With blood on his face, he opens the kill feed and notices Seo Woon's name. This makes him a bit annoyed as he also saw his name a bit earlier. Meanwhile, our boy is thinking that he needs to avoid Nam Sagwon at all costs. With his current strength, he can barely fight normal players, and he has a lot more to do before he can face that beast. He starts searching for items in the chest, but the only good thing he finds is a troll's potion. Afterwards, he decides to hide and survive until the number of players drops further. A week later, while he is farming for food, he thinks about how lucky he was in the early game to not encounter any players. The only thing available to eat is the jerky, and he has started to get sick of it. With only 20 players remaining, he stays at the edge of the map, moving his hand out of the area, for even a second hurts like hell, which makes him realize that he won't be able to move if he gets left behind. For the entire week, the kill log only showed Nam Sagwon's name as he killed more players. Suddenly, our boy notices smoke in the distance and wonders if there's a fight going on. Meanwhile, at the site of the explosion, Nan Sagwon is breathing heavily. He is surrounded by multiple players who have all joined forces to kill him. Instead of getting scared, he laughs. He says that he is thankful to them for making his job easier, since he doesn't need to hunt them now. His expression suddenly turned terrifying. He asked them if they were also ready to get killed, just like they were going to do to him. Our boy jumps into the air and grabs his first target by the face, crushing his skull with sheer force. At the same time, he punches another guy's head clean off, killing 2 players in just 1 second. The other players start to get worried as they witness his strength, but to him, it's all just a game. He continues counting his kills as he literally destroys them while fighting alone. It doesn't even seem like a fight, but a one-sided massacre. After it's over, the kill feed is flooded with his name, along with the players he just killed. Seo Woon starts shaking as he realizes that the guy just killed 9 players at once. Meanwhile, Sagwon is disgusted by the blood on his face and leaves to find a place to wash it off. At night, the elven mage from the start of the game walks to the scene and finds the staff, realizing that it belongs to a girl he knows. In his heart, he makes a promise to avenge her. At the same time, our MC is hiding in the bushes, waiting for more players to be eliminated since he is almost in the top 10. However, he knows that it won't be so easy without getting some good items. With this in mind, he comes across a huge mansion at the edge of the zone. As soon as he enters, he is mesmerized by the size and design of the whole building. While searching, he finds a guard's armor, but his stats aren't high enough to use it, so it's useless to him. Moving on, he finds an elixir that increases internal energy and has a 3-hour use time. This makes him a bit shocked as he realizes that he can increase internal energy without having to absorb life chi. Continuing his search, he finds a martial arts book in a hidden cellar. However, before he can head inside, he gets caught in a powerful explosion, and the entire place is destroyed. Regaining his composure, he notices the mage standing in front of him. But he is not alone this time. He originally aimed the explosion at Nam Sagwon, but my man is still standing. He tells the mage to stop talking and come at him instead. The mage happily takes on the challenge, and the two prepare to fight. Meanwhile, our MC watches all this while hiding in the bushes. He can't believe that the person who wiped out most of the players from this game is just a kid. As the two titans come face to face, the mage strikes first and uses his escrow-style lightning attack. However, the kid is just too fast and dodges it easily. This makes the mage a bit annoyed, and he screams at him to face him head-on, just like he did with the girl before. Sagwang began to recognize the mage's power, and he grew serious. He was struck by multiple lightning bolts. Still, he dodged them all and jumped toward the mage, ready to finish him. But the mage was too strong, swinging his staff and seemingly ripping Sagwang's body in half. To the mage's surprise, the body was an illusion, the real Sagwang still on the ground. Seo Woon was watching the fight, wondering if the rain was from the mage's spells. The mage grew furious, realizing the kid was gone, his presence undetectable. He screamed, swearing to find him at any cost. Some distance away, Sagwang ran, his body badly injured. He smiled, thinking the mage might have won this time, but he wouldn't get away with it again. For now, he had to play it safe and recover. Back at the mansion, the mage finally left, sensing no trace of Seo Woon. The boy survived thanks to his cloak of hiding. Knowing they wouldn't return, he emerged and found his lamp. Despite the fight, the basement entrance was fine, so he went in search for items. Walking down the stairs, he found only a food cellar with no items. A bit hungry, he ate until full. An hour later, he wondered if he should consume the elixir now. He also had that martial arts manual. The technique's description said it was created by a man with a lifetime of combat experience. However, he never won a match and died miserably with no disciples. Seo Woon was doubtful, but decided it was better than nothing. With these thoughts, he chose to drink the elixir first, expecting the same pain. This time, it was different. He felt energy filling his body. Suddenly, he grew hot and tired, unable to move. After it was over, exhausted, he went to sleep. He thought how lucky he'd been to avoid players and survive the mage and Sagwang's fight. He woke the next day and checked the player count, realizing the old man was gone. Knowing the man, he guessed he tried some strange training method, since there were no risks. The map was shrinking, so he knew he had to move on, having made it so far. He decides to continue using the same strategy that has kept him alive so far. It's perfect for someone like him who doesn't really have any skills. While moving through the forest, he suddenly gets blasted by a huge explosion and barely manages to dodge. The sheer explosive power is enough to tell who caused the explosion. Our boy looks ahead to see the archmage standing in the distance. The mage looks annoyed. He thought he felt Sagwang's presence. He asks him if he can tell him his location, otherwise he will kill him on the spot. Meanwhile, Nam Sagwang, who has been hiding behind the mage all along, smiles as he hears this. The mage glares coldly at Seo Woon and demands to know where the kid is. He threatens that if he doesn't give him the location, there's no reason to let him live. From a mage's point of view, someone who doesn't have answers is just useless. Shocked and frustrated, the MC pushes back. He can't believe the mage is making such a demand the moment they meet. He insists he has no idea where the guy is hiding. Then, Seo Woon's expression tightens as something has caught his eye. His eyes widen in alarm as Nam Sagwang suddenly appears above, descending in a flash of blinding energy. Still unaware of the incoming threat, the mage continues his one-sided conversation. He says he only asked because the MC looked like he was from the same region as the guy. If he isn't, then he could just die. Without warning, Nam Sagwang slams into the mage with a thunderous impact, crackling with electricity. The mage flinches, shocked, and realizes too late that the kid has been hiding nearby. With a confident grin, he says he's fully recovered and mocks the mage for being low on mana. Seo Woon watches in disbelief as the kid roars that he's ending this now and charges his punch with explosive energy. The punch lands hard, launching the mage backward with a shock wave of blue light. Though injured, the mage tries to stay calm and mutters that such a basic attack can't hurt him. But suddenly, his face contorts in horror as pain shoots through him and blood bursts from his body. Nam Sagwang grins menacingly. He asks the mage if he has ever heard of enhanced energy. His glowing hand pulses with deadly energy. He explains that arm energy is a rare martial art from enhanced energy, mastered only by a few. He didn't expect to use it in this world, but the mage is the first to see it. He should feel honored. The mage struggles to breathe, gasping for air. In a split second, Nam Sagwang drives his electrified fist straight through the mage's body. Blood erupts as the mage screams in agony. With the guy beaten badly, he asks him if he won't be casting any more of his annoying spells now. Saguang casually remarks that someone like the mage could have made it into the top 5, if only they hadn't crossed paths. From a distance, Jin Seo-woon watches the whole scene. Stunned, he feels lucky that the kid arrived, but also knows this is his only chance to escape. While the two fight, he decides to flee. Just then, Nam Saguang strikes again with another brutal punch and tells the mage to die already. A blast of energy shakes the ground. Blood sprays as the mage's body takes the hit. He's too weak to fight back. Nam Saguang drives his electrified fist through his chest again. Seo-woon stares in shock. Watching the mighty archmage fall like this forces him to question everything. Then a dangerous thought creeps into his mind. He wonders how powerful he might become if he can absorb the life energy from a mage. Nam Saguang stands over the broken mage and mocks his past confidence. He calls his body nothing more than a half-dead corpse. Then he asks if the mage has any last words, only to laugh, reminding him he can't even speak anymore. The mage glares up in silence, his bloodied face twisted in pain. Suddenly, Nam Saguang hears the mage's voice in his mind. Through telepathy, the mage reveals that Elizabeth, the person he killed, was his most cherished disciple. The kid pauses, confused by the voice in his head. The mage explains how Elizabeth had been thrown out of university just for being a girl. He regrets not protecting her, but Saguang sneers, claiming that if she were a girl, he would have noticed unless she looked too much like a man. A dark grin spreads across the mage's face. With burning rage, he silently vows to shut Saguang's filthy mouth for good. Hearing this, the kid's expression turns serious as he demands to know what the mage just said. At that same moment, Seo-woon sees something in the sky. To everyone's shock, the mage has cast a powerful spell, and a giant meteor is heading straight at them from above. Saguang looks up in disbelief and shouts in anger, unable to understand how the mage is still casting spells. Through telepathy, the mage explains that this is his final spell that uses both mana and life force. The spell is called Armageddon. As the meteor crashes down, the mage quietly speaks to Elizabeth, saying he's ready to see her again. He disappears in a flash of red energy, leaving behind only a chest. The meteor hits with thunderous force, creating a huge shockwave that levels the area. From a distance, an elven archer watches in silence. He sees the destructive magic and knows exactly who cast it. Back on the ground, Seo-woon lies injured, blaming himself for not running sooner. He fumbles for a healing elixir and a scroll, using both as quickly as possible. The pain is still strong, but he refuses to die. He pulls out more healing scrolls, using everything he has. After barely surviving, he stands among the torn-up earth and scattered scrolls. Breathing heavily, he says, "I can finally relax for now." But when he checks his system log, something feels wrong. It confirms that Nam Saguang killed the mage, but there's no record of Saguang's death. A cold shiver runs through him as he wonders if the kid is still alive. Just then, a faint voice calls out for help. He follows the sound through the forest, only to find Saguang barely alive, holding a healing scroll in his teeth. He begs Seo-woon to help him use it, since he can't move his arms. The MC calmly confirms his identity, and the kid recognizes him. Our boy admits, "I always thought I would win. I was curious about what kind of items he must have had." Nam Saguang promises that if Seo-woon helps him just once, he'll make him the winner. But as Seo-woon pulls out a glowing purple sword, it's clear he has something else in mind. He believes that if he absorbs Saguang's power and items, he can win this game for sure. The kid panics and pleads. He warns that strong enemies are still out there, but he doesn't even have good items. But Seo-woon remains calm. He raises his sword, introduces himself as Jin Seo-woon, and prepares to strike. Saguang yells that even if he dies now, he'll never forget this betrayal. His eyes burn with hatred as he screams the MC's name just before the sword crashes down. Blood splashes violently as Seo-woon stabs him through the head, ending it without hesitation. Afterward, he catches his breath. Seeing the top player in the game die, like a child, leaves him feeling strangely guilty. But then something unexpected happens as he notices a blue energy surrounding him. The power flowing into him is immense, beyond anything he imagined. He grins in disbelief as he realizes that Saguang was like a living elixir. The energy continues to surge through him, flooding his body. Elsewhere, Other players check the kill log and notice that Nam Sawang has died. The elven archer who had been watching the fight earlier looks down from a tree and mentions that the foxes will run rampant as the lion has died. Still glowing with inner energy, Seo Woon looks at his hands in amazement. He can feel the massive amount of internal energy flowing through him and thinks he can now take on anyone. His eyes move to Nam Sawang's glowing loot box lying nearby. As he reaches for it, he wonders just how powerful he must have been even before the game began. He doubts someone that strong could have avoided farming altogether. He also hopes the box isn't empty, since that would be disappointing. As he opens the lid, a bright green light bursts out. He gasps in shock, noticing 5 powerful rings inside. One boosts agility, another increases strength, one raises stamina, and 2 enhance magic resistance. The rings float in the air around him as he stares. Stunned, he puts them on and scoffs at Sawang for pretending not to rely on gear while secretly farming rare items. Suddenly, the energy around him intensifies again. Feeling the power of the rings, he quickly opens the stats window and notices how much his stats have gone up. He smiles, clenches his fists, and confidently says that he can win now. As he looks through the rest of the loot, he finds martial arts books glowing with purple energy. But they all require internal cultivation techniques he hasn't learned, so he can't use them. As he walks through the forest, something makes him stop. He senses a presence. Suddenly, he gets hit by a massive wave of fire, similar to one of the Archmage's spells. After tanking the entire spell, our boy looks through the smoke to notice a low-level mage mocking him for not noticing him. He arrogantly claims that Seo Woon must have beaten Nam Sawang by luck if a sneak attack was all it took. But our boy calmly stands up unharmed and asks him what he is trying to do. The mage is shocked, wondering how his spell had no effect on him. Seo Woon glances around, confused, saying he thought he saw something flash. His magic resistance is at 90, so these spells don't even scratch him anymore. He steps forward slowly, which makes the mage panic, and he warns him not to come closer, threatening a stronger spell. As flames swirl in his hands, the mage casts escrow-style flame, sweat dripping from his face, but Seo Woon stays calm, thinking the spell won't work anyway. A second fiery explosion blasts him. This one is stronger, but like before, it does nothing. The MC steps out of the flames, completely unharmed. He stares the guy directly in the eyes and hits him with a piercing fist. The punch hits the mage in the chest, sending shock waves through his body. Blood flies from his mouth as he crashes through trees and debris. Seo Woon lowers his fist, surprised at how strong the attack was. He thought it was a weak technique based on the description. This makes him wonder if martial arts strength changes depending on how much internal energy one has. He doesn't waste any time and finishes the guy off. Now, with only 7 players left in the game, our boy is feeling pretty confident. With the amount of magic resistance he has right now, he won't take any damage from average magic attacks. However, he knows that now, with Nam Sawang gone, the real threats are finally starting to show themselves. Later, as he is running through the forest at an incredible speed, he smiles. He realizes he can now imitate the Elder's lightness technique. With a quiet laugh, he thanks the Elder. "I promise to win," he whispers. An hour later, Seo Woon hides silently in a tree, covered by his invisibility cloak. Suddenly, someone calls out his name. "Stop hiding!" The voice belongs to a muscular man in a cape. He leaps out with a huge sword, demanding a fair fight. "Coward," he mocks. The guy even introduces himself. "My name is Stanko." While he's still yapping, he suddenly notices an arrow flying at him. He deflects it using his sword. He shouts in rage, "Face me properly, you coward!" Watching from above, Seo Woon stays hidden. Who shot the arrow? He wonders. Stanko then looks up and sees the archer standing on a tree branch. "I know that the only person capable of putting this much aura into an arrow is Zurikana." Surprised, the archer asks, "You know me?" Stanko replies, "The legend of the divine archer is well known amongst mercenaries like us. Since we are both trying to win," he suggests, "let's team up to take down Seo Woon." Zurikana silently jumps down and walks toward him without a word. Stanko proudly introduces himself as a well-known mercenary. "We'll make a great team," he assures him. "He must be dumb to fall for my act," he thinks. Zurikana, however, seems to be thinking about something else. He counts the seconds on his fingers. Did I get the timing wrong? Suddenly, he hears Stanko saying, "An archer should never make the mistake of closing the distance himself. He swiftly tries to finish off the archer with his sword. But before he can even hit him, an arrow pierces through his skull. Zurikana makes a disgusted face. "Did you really think I would cooperate with an insect like you?" he asks. "I'm more interested in finding out where Seo Woon is hiding." Just as he is saying this, Seo Woon quietly walks behind him using his cloak. He starts absorbing the life chi left behind by Stanko. Suddenly, the archer turns back and looks in his direction. Does he have a skill that can see through invisibility? Seo Woon panics. However, it all turns out to be a false alarm. Zurikana only turned back to see what items Stanko left behind. He changes his mind. His items aren't worth taking. He walks away. Meanwhile, Seo Woon takes a sigh of relief. He stares at the archer, choosing him as his next target. After draining all of Stanko's internal energy, Seo Woon glances around. He notices the faint glow of a barrier marking the edge of the restricted zone. He quickly moves through the dense forest using the lightness technique he learned from the old man. With only 6 survivors remaining and 87 days still left on the clock, he begins to wonder if the speed of the zone's collapse is tied to the number of players left in the game. As he rushes forward, his eyes widen. He suddenly comes across a large open area. The unexpected openness of the field immediately makes him uneasy. He knows that this kind of exposed terrain could draw attention from any nearby enemies. Just as he processes the risk, streaks of green energy cut through the air. They head straight toward him. The sudden assault forces him into motion. He twists his body to dodge the glowing blasts that explode across the field. It's clear this isn't a random attack. The spell was cast with precision, aimed directly at his hidden location. Confused, he wonders how anyone could have tracked him so accurately. His cloak hides all sound and breath, making it nearly impossible for normal detection. Before he could draw any conclusions, a second wave of green energy rains down from the sky, larger and more intense than the first. Realizing he can't dodge them all, Seo Woon throws aside his cloak. He takes a firm stance and decides to bet everything on his internal energy. Facing the threat directly, he releases a powerful martial arts move. He sends a straight punch, crackling with blue energy, into the incoming storm of magic. The punch explodes forward with devastating force, tearing through the barrage and shaking the entire field. As the dust settles and bits of debris fall around him, Seo Woon stares at his own hand in disbelief. He is barely able to believe the power he just unleashed. Without wasting time, he leaps into the air to get a better view. He scans the clearing for any sign of the enemy. His eyes finally lock onto someone hidden in the trees. Below, a mage watches the field in shock, muttering to himself in disbelief that the spell he poured all his mana into was neutralized so easily. Before the man can react, Seo Woon suddenly shouts as he notices someone behind him. However, the mage has no time to understand. A blade pierces his chest from behind, and blood spills out as he stares at the wound in disbelief. Behind him stands a silent assassin. He calmly tells the mage that he should have saved some mana for detection magic, or at least a protective barrier. The assassin explains with cold detachment that erasing his presence is easy for someone like him. With the elimination of the mage, only 5 players are now left in the game. Our boy lands quietly on the grass as the assassin turns to face him, recognizing him immediately as Jin Seo Woon, the one responsible for eliminating Nam Sagwan. The MC asks, "Do you know me?" The assassin responds, "How could I not? You killed the number 1 public enemy in the lobby. The remaining players must be desperate to hunt you down," the assassin adds. "Don't resist. I have never failed to take down my target." With that, he rushes forward, dual blades flashing, trying to end the fight quickly. Our boy tries to counter with his special punch, but the assassin is too quick. He dodges and slashes his arm, moving like Levi. The assassin admits, "You are tougher than I expected." Seo Woon realizes that without the protection of his internal energy, he would have been cut down immediately. This opponent is far stronger than any mage he's faced before. It becomes clear that this is a different kind of challenge. The assassin grins. "Your death is only a matter of time. I have never failed to hunt someone in the dark." As Seo Woon examines his arm, the word dark rings in his mind, and a realization begins to form. But before he can act, the assassin raises both blades and vanishes into thin air, disappearing from sight. Caught off guard, the MC freezes, unable to sense the assassin's presence. Panic sets in as he realizes the assassin is already behind him, preparing to strike. Just as the killing blow is about to land, Co Woon vanishes from the assassin's sight. Now it's the assassin's turn to panic. He looks around, unable to find him. Suddenly, our boy appears behind him, cloaked and silent. He grabs the assassin's wrist firmly. Even though you can hide physically, your energy still leaves a trail I can follow. The assassin yells in frustration. "Coward!" Striking from behind, Co Woon glares at him coldly, repeating his earlier threat about finishing him. Desperate, the assassin tries to bargain. "Let's team up and aim for first place together." But before he can finish his plea, Co Woon cuts him down without hesitation, splattering blood across the clearing. The system announces the assassin's death, and the survivor count drops to 4. Our boy absorbs the life chi of both players who just died and secures their healing scrolls. He decides to farm quickly and leave, since other players might be arriving soon. While going through the assassin's items, he finds a shadow clone manual. He realizes that the assassin was carrying something that didn't suit him since he had no internal energy. This manual allows the player to use shadow clones that fight for them. The mage who died earlier had a detection spell to look through any stealth skills, but his core isn't powerful enough to learn it, so it's useless for him. Co Woon finally realizes how the mage was able to see him, even though he was invisible. While he is still distracted, an arrow slices through his cheek and hits the ground. He looks back in shock to notice more arrows flying at him. Panic starts setting in, and he hasn't seen this type of immense magic power before. He knows that it's too late to run, so he decides to tank the attack using his internal energy. Flowing all the energy into his fist, he uses the exact same technique he used to deflect the mage's attack earlier. After successfully blocking the attack, he wonders if he's being teamed up on by 2 people, since he got attacked twice. Suddenly, another player appears out of nowhere and punches him, admitting that he is quite strong. The punch sends him sliding back, and he realizes that there are 3 players. The guy who just punched him is the Cruisen's king, named Centaurk. Behind him are 2 more players, including the Demon King's right arm, Jiren, and the Divine Archer, Zurikana. Facing all of them is our boy, Co Woon, who is introduced as just a normal bloke. Despite being outnumbered, our boy stays calm. Centaurk steps forward with a cold glare and makes it clear that Co Woon's lucky streak is over. He can see the demon mage and the archer standing on the high ground. Their tight formation leaves no room for escape, and Co Woon feels a bit frustrated. Just when he got so close to winning, he ran into teammates. Even so, he knows that teams like this often fall apart if pushed the right way. He studies them carefully, searching for cracks in their unity, but none of them seem familiar or easy to read. Then, unexpectedly, Jiren approaches Centaurk with a dramatic bow and calls him by a royal title, clearly trying to impress. The king, unimpressed and slightly irritated, questions his boldness. Jiren laughs nervously and explains that, in a place like this, status doesn't mean anything. He even suggests that teaming up with someone shady is fine if it leads to better rewards. Watching all this, Co Woon realizes that they weren't planning on teaming. Suddenly, the MC begins to vanish, using his cloak. The king notices this, telling Jiren to get rid of his stealth. The demon mage raises a glowing hand as golden light swells and bursts out like a flare. The light fills the whole area, wiping out every shadow. Co Woon flinches at the brightness, quickly realizing that his stealth cloak is now useless in the light. The spell has completely exposed his position. As the MC processes this setback, the demon mage says that he has to thank Nam Sagwang for taking care of the archmage. He quickly switches gears. "It's time for me to die, too," he announces, in the name of the Demon King. He unleashes a terrifying spell. The ground cracks as he casts the Chaos Blade spell. A swirling mass of purple blades he shoots out in every direction. Co Woon instantly understands what's happening. He knows that mages like Jiren are weak up close. If he can rush in before the spell fully goes off, he might be able to stop it. It's a dangerous move, but he charges forward without a second thought. He dives straight into the chaos. The demon mage lashes out with the spell, frustrated and yelling. The blades whip through the air. They slice into Co Woon, tearing through his cloak and spraying blood. Despite the pain, he channels his internal energy to protect himself as much as possible and keeps pushing forward. But the attack is too strong. A system notification informs him that he can't use the cloak anymore due to it being damaged. Jiren watches the explosions and thinks he's finished the job. Unfortunately for him, this is far from over. CEO Woon appears out of the blades, his face completely covered in blood. He tries attacking him with his piercing fist, but the demon mage seems to have seen through his trick. He smiles and uses another spell, this time calling forth massive undead hands from the ground. These hands reach out to grab and crush him. CEO Woon immediately senses that this spell is much stronger than the last, but he doesn't panic. He activates Shadow Clone. His body blurs and creates phantom images that dance around the chaos. Jiren stares, stunned that CEO Woon can use illusion magic too. He thought he was just a physical fighter. CEO Woon roars with determination, charging in for what he hopes is the final strike. Just as Jiren tries to form a magical barrier, something unexpected happens. Centauric uses his piercing aura and stabs the demon mage from behind. Blood flies as the mage stiffens in shock, unable to believe the king would betray him. Centauric coldly explains that victory is all that matters. He admits he never intended to work with someone like him in the first place. The system confirms Jiren's death. Centauric thinks that there are only 2 players left. He looks up at the archer and mentions that he was quite the nuisance for their army. It's ironic that the 2 of them ended up working together. Zurikana smiles as he hears this. It's too early to say that. Before Centauric knows it, he gets punched in the face by CEO Woon's piercing fist and slams into the wall ahead. While taking heavy breaths, CEO Woon stares at the archer. It's just the 2 of us left. He challenges him. Just come at me. Zurikana simply smiles. You have a bigger problem to deal with right now. Suddenly, the king stands up, more furious than ever. He's confident he felt his sword pierce his body, and also impressed that he could destroy his tough armor so easily. By this time, our boy has changed. His entire body covered in blood. He asks the king, "Are you going to fight me alone, or are the 2 of you planning to jump me together?" The king stares at him with a cold expression. "You will regret making me use my entire strength," he says. Before our boy can even react, he feels his arm getting stabbed by the king's sword. Centaur claims that no one can compete with him in terms of speed. He specifically targeted his ligaments, so he won't be able to move his arms. CEO Woon doesn't want to lose after coming this far. He puts his trust in his inner energy and uses his fist to break the sword. While the king processes what just happened, CEO Woon takes out the piece of sword stuck in his arm and throws it at his face like a dagger. Centauric burns with fury. "How dare you injure my face?" he asks. Meanwhile, our boy immediately rips out a healing scroll to recover his health. The king knows that he needs to step up his game if he wants to win. He decides to play his last card and takes out his aura blade. By this time, CEO Woon has healed his arm, so he uses his shadow clone technique and unleashes all of his inner energy. It seems like both of them are planning to end this fight with their final moves. The archer seems like he is bored and yells, "Get it over with quickly!" With all his clones ready, CEO Woon tells Centauric, "We're going to fight for real." The king just mocks him, brushing off his words and daring him to attack. But deep down, he knows his powerful aura blade has only 2 minutes left, and he has to finish this fight fast. CEO Woon, on the other hand, can feel his energy almost running out too. So, he's also desperate to end things quickly. Without wasting any more time, he charges forward with all of his clones. The king tries to counter him by swinging his sword, but there are just too many clones. Before he can react, the real CEO Woon appears behind him and strikes him hard with a palm attack. Centauric tries to counter immediately, swinging his sword while cursing him, only to realize once again that he's hit a clone. Frustrated that he can't tell which is real, he decides to just attack all of them at once. But before he can act, our boy appears again and lands a solid punch on his face, causing him to spit blood as his head twists from the impact. Even as he tries to spot the real body, he gets taunted, being told to stop wasting time searching. CEO Woon reveals that all his clones from this shadow clone technique can strike just like the real one, making it impossible to tell them apart. He then launches a fierce kick, using another move. But Centauric dodges it. He counters with his golden aura blade, slashing through 2 clones and erasing them completely. As they vanish, he mumbles about how weak they are. He looks around and realizes that only 5 clones are left. But he can't be too excited since he only has a minute before his aura blade runs out. From a cliff above, the archer Zurikana watches. He mutters that he didn't expect Senior to struggle this much. Suddenly, the king yells up to him, asking for help. He offers to give him all the rewards if they win. The archer simply warns him to look ahead, as our boy is going in for another attack. Caught off guard, the guy barely reacts. but he manages to fire off a powerful counterattack with his crushing wave aura. The MC dodges and responds with another unstoppable fist strike, this time hitting him right in the chest and sending blood flying. Their next moves clash. CO Woon's follow-up attack crashes into the King's blade, but it's blocked by the guy's blade. With a sudden grin, Centauric lunges forward. He strikes what he believes is the real body, stabbing deep and watching blood splatter everywhere. But then the body flickers and fades, revealing that it was only a clone. The guy freezes in disbelief, realizing once again that he's been fooled. He mutters to himself that this is humiliating. He screams that he doesn't care about winning anymore. Zurikana watches all of this from above, seemingly enjoying this fight. Meanwhile, Centauric explodes with golden energy as he dares our boy to dodge. He rushes forward, aiming to smash all the remaining clones. After the dust settles, several of them are gone. Breathing heavily, he narrows his eyes. He notices that only two are left. One is the real body, and the other is a clone. But before he can decide which one is real, CO Woon suddenly charges in again, shouting that it's his turn now. He throws a powerful punch with his piercing fist. A clone flanks him from the side, attacking at the same time. The combined strike lands cleanly and causes the king to spit up blood. Suddenly, he puts his sword through his neck, only to realize that it was a clone. He felt no sensation in his hand. However, this means that only the real body remains. He points his sword towards the last standing CO Woon. He announces that he will finish it with one strike. BMC locks eyes with him and takes his stance ready. The two of them charge forward at full speed, colliding midair with a burst of force. Seeing him keeping up, the king compliments him. He says that he is pretty good at hand-to-hand combat, but his expression darkens again. He dares him to block what's coming next. He activates his most powerful technique, called the Aura Blade Lightning Form. A devastating blast of golden lightning erupts from him, striking everything in sight. The energy surges towards CO Woon, tearing into him with brutal force. Gasping and injured, the MC tries to reason with him. The only one benefiting from all of this is the archer. However, it's too late. The guy ignores him and drives his sword straight into his chest. At this point, Centauric is pretty exhausted. The fight was too close for comfort, and he knows he would have lost if he had been a bit slower. Suddenly, he notices his blade destroyed in half and realizes that he didn't feel like he was hitting a real body. Before he can make sense of it, our boy appears from behind and erupts in a devastating counterattack. The real blow lands with overwhelming force, splitting Centauric open. Standing over the fallen body, CO Woon thinks to himself, if I hadn't used my clones to drain his stamina, the fight might have ended differently. At the same time, he hears the archer, I didn't expect you to beat Centauric. Thanks for dealing with him. He was quite the pain. He knocks an arrow, stating, the king's pride made him go all in. And now, CO Woon, who gave his all to win, must also fall by my own hands. With incredible speed, he fires a glowing blue arrow straight at him. The arrow cuts through the air like lightning, and the MC barely has time to react. His eyes widen as the arrow races toward him with terrifying power. Our boy immediately absorbs the life chi from Centauric. Even though it's not as powerful as Nam Sawong, it's still enough for him to take on the archer. As the glowing blue arrow races toward him, he quickly activates his shadow clone technique, creating several after images of himself while dashing up the hill at high speed. From above, Zurikana narrows his eyes and calls his technique annoying. Confident he can handle it, he fires another arrow with sharp precision. The shot pierces CO Woon's leg, confirming it hit the real body. In pain, the MC tumbles down the cliff and crashes hard on the ground. The archer jumps down with a smile. I have to make sure you can't escape this time. He draws his bow to shoot him in the arms and pin him to the ground. The MC angrily demands, how did you figure out which one was real? Zurikana casually replies, I made a guess. Looking down at him with a confident smile, the archer admits, I respect your determination. But our boy spits back in anger, give your respect to the dogs. Without saying another word, the archer shoots one final arrow directly into his head, killing him. And just like that, the game is officially over. Moments later, CO Woon's body transforms into a chest, just like the others who died before him. The game announces that the Cloyd survival game has ended. The MC, now in what appears to be another dimension, watches his own body change into a chest. He mutters to himself that someone else took the prize of his hard work. Though disappointed, he remembers he did the same to Nam Sagwong when he was defenseless. A system message congratulates him for placing in the top 2 and notifies him that he is qualified for the next game. Shocked, he wonders if there really is another game after all. The system also reveals that he has earned 140 reward coins, including his kill bonuses. Standing in a room surrounded by the items he collected, Co Woon is told he can use his coins to buy anything. All the items have different prices, but his shadow clone technique costs him almost all his reward coins. At the same time, the system informs him that the top 5 players get a chance to spin a roulette wheel and win a random item. Since he ranked second, he will be getting 2 chances. This makes him a bit excited, as he realizes that he can save a lot of coins by getting either the Cloak of Invisibility or the Shadow Clone Manual. He spins the roulette, hoping for the best, but when it stops, he sees he's gotten Escrow's necklace, which is the cheapest item. Angry and frustrated, he grabs his head and questions why the worst option had to appear. Still, with 1 chance left, he steadies himself and prays desperately, calling on every god he knows. As the wheel spins again, he shouts for it to stop, and to his surprise, it lands on the Shadow Clone technique. In awe, Co Woon clenches his fist and yells in victory, celebrating that he got the most expensive item and saved his coins. The system then notifies him that he will now receive the items he selected. The Shadow Clone book floats toward him, and he is told that once he finishes choosing, he will be moved. Looking at all the tempting options, he carefully makes his final picks, knowing he can't stay in this space forever. Once he's done, the system praises his choices and wishes him luck. Suddenly, he's surrounded by the same light and gets transported back to the alleyway. Confused, he looks around and wonders if he's really returned to his own world. He glances at his hand and sees the subspace ring he equipped in Cloyd Survival, confirming it wasn't just a dream. With this confirmation, he picks up his bag and starts walking down the street. He thinks about how his first game ended. Though the world around him looks unchanged, deep inside, he feels something important has begun. Smiling slightly, he realizes that TOEIC is no longer the real issue, as he now has bigger things ahead. Looking down at the ring, he remembers another game awaits. He thinks, I need to hurry and get ready. I don't want to repeat the same mistake and actually get first place this time. The scene shifts to the outside of his studio apartment, a place his parents found for him near school. Back inside, Co Woon no longer focuses on his English test, but is fully absorbed in growing stronger from the game's spoils. Dropping his bag onto the chair, he reminds himself, I don't want to play like a noob in the next game. As he begins meditating, he realizes his energy core feels completely empty. He wonders, did I use all of my inner energy during that last fight? He knows he can't simply kill people in real life to get their life chi. He has to recover it using cultivation techniques like the old man taught him. A flashback shows the elder explaining, internal energy is accumulated through cultivation. Once the core is formed, one can simply gather energy over time by focusing. This might not be as fast as the other method, but if you can make it a habit, you might master it before you know it. Co Woon asks, can I become as strong as you if I just keep training? The old man laughs and reminds him, don't shoot beyond your limits. However, soon after, he makes a serious expression and mentions there is no saying what your limits truly are. Back in the present, he has been meditating for 4 hours, but he still hasn't gathered much inner energy. Frustrated, he realizes this is a lot more difficult than a game. If I continue at this pace, it might take me years to completely fill up my energy. He decides to leave it for now and starts organizing the items he brought back from the game. He takes out the Shadow Clone Manual from the subspace and starts sweating. He wonders, do I also need to train it little by little, just like my inner energy? In order to try it, he opens the book and the system asks, do you want to learn the technique? He's a bit surprised that the system from the game works in real life too. Fortunately, the technique doesn't take long to learn, but it's still not as powerful as in the game. To check out his other items, he reaches into the subspace and takes out Escrow's necklace. It's the cheapest item he got, but it's still made out of pure gold. He suddenly realizes, I can make a lot of money if I sell it to a local jeweler. Moreover, I can take back multiple of these necklaces in the next game and become rich. It might not have any value in the game, but it's expensive in real life. Afterwards, he takes out the troll potion, which guarantees a healthy life for a year for anyone who drinks it. My man has completely turned into a businessman by now. So, he thinks about selling it to a rich, terminal patient. With all these items, he realizes that he can actually make a lot of money from the game. Suddenly, he remembers that he hasn't really eaten any real food these past days, except tough jerky strips. To make up for it, he goes to a nearby hotel called Grandma's Diner. He orders a meal that he would normally consider a luxury, but he doesn't care about those things anymore since all he needs right now is some tasty food. The food is so good that he starts crying. The grandma notices him and mentions that he came here yesterday too. He nervously tells her that the food is just too tasty. This also makes him realize that time stops when he is in the game. After eating, he makes his way back, questioning when the next game is going to start. He also remembers the ring of strength he brought back, and wonders if it also works the same in real life. After putting on a ring, he tries jumping, but accidentally launches himself too high. His body almost feels like it's overflowing with strength. Landing back down, he looks around to make sure no one saw him, and starts walking back. When he finally reaches home, he decides to use his elixir of insight, which he bought for 50 coins. He stares at the potion, thinking to himself that it didn't allow him to move for 3 hours when he absorbed it in-game. It might be a bit troublesome if it works the same way in real life. However, he decides to risk it and drinks the entire thing, causing him to shoot out energy from his eyes like he is Superman. It's now been 3 hours, and someone has called the police on him since his house walls are almost melting from the heat. The old neighbor lady tells them that she tried knocking, but the door was just too hot to even touch. Even though there is literal steam coming out of the house, the police don't really take it seriously and mention that she should have called the fire department. Since there is no fire, they don't think there is any need to worry. It's only when one of them actually touches the door handle that they realize something fishy is going on inside. They knock on the door and ask him if he is okay. However, several seconds pass and no one answers. This makes them even more suspicious. But the door finally opens up, and our boy comes out looking like a terminal patient. With sweat dripping from his face, he tells them that he had a fever, so he turned up the boiler a bit. The policemen ask him if he needs an ambulance, but he turns it down, saying that he will be fine. This is enough to make them leave, and they tell the old lady not to call the police for things like these. After they walk away, he drops to the ground. His back is against the door. He thinks to himself, I nearly died. The energy from the elixir was a bit too much. If it wasn't for the white martial physique arts, I wouldn't have been able to contain it. Unlike in the game, there's a huge risk involved when doing things like this in real life. However, all this pain wasn't for nothing. He soon realizes how powerful he has become. Using just his palm strike causes all of his furniture to fly back. He also breaks his chair by accident. He thinks to himself, I need to sell some of the items to buy a new one. The next day, he goes to a nearby open gym, but it's a bit too crowded. He thinks about coming back after sunset. Suddenly, he notices some high school students coming his way. The kids are smoking, so an old guy from the park tells them it's a no-smoking zone. Hearing this, one of them asks him, Who are you? Not even my parents say anything about me smoking. The old man doubles down. Your parents must have failed to raise you properly if they don't care about you smoking. This makes the student mad, and he prepares to punch the old guy. Fortunately, our boy comes to the rescue and kicks the guy before he can hit the old man. Bro casually sending people to a coma for trying to hit elders. However, it turns out that the real fight is just about to begin as Seo Woon hears another student calling him out. This guy looks like an actual criminal and completely towers over the MC in terms of his height. Our boy looks at him with an annoyed expression, realizing that he might have gone a bit overboard. Turns out that this is the older brother of the guy he just knocked out. Seo Woon tries to reason with him. Your brother was the one who caused the problem by not respecting the old man. Moreover, he was smoking in a public area as a high school student, so it was the right move to educate him. He laughs. I should be the one to teach him as his older brother. The guy seemingly has a single brain cell, so he ignores everything and goes for a surprise punch. Our boy is just too fast for him, so he dodges the punch and counterattacks with his piercing fist, sending him flying back. Suddenly, he realizes that he might have used a bit of excessive strength in this punch, too. Despite being badly injured, Big Brother isn't ready to back down, so he takes out a pocket knife and threatens to kill him. Seo Woon simply stares at his face and realizes that both of these brothers are the same. As they continue fighting, he realizes that fighting normal people like him is too easy for him now. With a quick sweep kick, he throws the guy down. He thinks to himself, I need to control my strength or I might seriously hurt someone. Instead of hitting the guy directly this time, he uses 50% of his power. He uses his palm first to create a shock wave in the air. This sends the brother flying back into the tree. Our boy panics, thinking to himself that he didn't want to do this. He tries to play it solo and says that the guy is just acting. After giving him a short lecture, he says goodbye and runs away from the scene. This was too far, and he knew that his life would be over if he accidentally killed any of them. Seo-woo knows that if he wants to use his powers in real life, he needs proper training to control them perfectly. It's been a month since he started his training. As he is meditating, he gets a call from his mom asking him about his well-being. He informs her that everything is okay and thinks to himself that he needs to keep his martial arts training a secret for now. When he asks her about his dad, his mom's tone gets serious, and she reveals that he got into a car accident. This shocks him to the core, and he frantically asks her how bad it is. The mom explains that a car hit him while he was making deliveries. They don't really have health insurance, so the surgery costs are going to be too much. She tells him that she feels bad for asking him, but she needs some of the money back from what she sent him. This breaks his heart, and he asks her about the total cost for the surgery. After she tells him the cost, he reaches into his subspace and takes out the gold necklace he brought back from the game, assuring her that he will take care of it. His parents spent all their lives bouncing from one rented home to another, working hard to provide for him. Seo-woon starts crying as he realizes that he was just a freeloader child with no hope for his future. However, things have changed now. He finally makes his way to the jewelry shop and asks them about the price of the necklace. As she analyzes the necklace, the girl mentions that it doesn't look local and has excellent craftsmanship. He lies and tells her that it's been in his family for generations. When he asks her for the price, she informs him that this is a rare item and asks if he is sure about selling it. With an emotional tone, he explains that his dad needs money for his surgery, so he has no choice. He ends up getting 11.5 million won for the gold necklace. But seeing the girl looking so excited makes him realize that he might have undersold it. However, it doesn't really matter much since he got the amount he needed. After he sends the money to his mom, she gets worried and asks him how he got so much money. He tells her that it's just savings from his part-time job in the army. She apologizes to him for making him go through all of this. He assures her that she doesn't need to worry about him. With the problem resolved, he decides to take a train back home. On the train, he overhears two kids talking about a video of a guy using a flame spell. They might not understand what's happening, but Seo-woon recognizes the spell from Cloyd Survival. Seeing the video makes him realize he's not the only person in Korea who experienced the game. Suddenly, the video is deleted. The kids dismiss it as some crazy person's doing. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a man receives a phone call. He assures the caller he won't let it happen again. He even mentions cutting off internet access across the entire country. A group of men in black suits stand silently before him as he apologizes on the call. After hanging up, he asks one of them what happened. With a shaking voice, the man explains that the number of survivors has surged dramatically, making it impossible to track them all. This infuriates the boss. He throws an ashtray at the man, demanding to know why they aren't increasing the number of agents if the number of survivors is growing. He furiously orders him to bring in the person who made the video. With blood dripping from his face, the man assures him he will get it done. The boss, concerned about the carpet, orders someone to heal him. A healer uses a spell to stop the bleeding. Having vented his anger, the boss finally leaves. The scene shifts to a lone figure running through the night. He has been training for 2 months since the first game. This has allowed him to gather a good amount of inner energy. He has also become more proficient in using it. However, his biggest issue is that he can only summon a single clone with his current inner energy, and only for a short time. Using his martial arts technique, he moves swiftly through the forest, training in hand-to-hand combat with his clone. After just a few punches, his body feels tired. He wonders if this is his limit. During his fight with Centaur, he had no problem controlling 8 shadow clones. This makes him wonder if he used too much inner energy in his last battle. He stands up, telling himself that sulking won't help, and decides to go home. However, feeling hungry, he prepares to open his subspace to find some food. Before he knows it, he is teleported to the waiting area of Cloyd Survival. Just like before, everyone is speaking a different language. Seo-woon looks around. He notices some people who look as confused as he was during his first time. While he is thinking, the system thanks all the players for joining. It announces the beginning of the game's tutorial. This makes him a bit surprised since they skipped the tutorial last time. Seo-woon wonders if it's because there are more beginners this time. Suddenly, his eyes catch a high schooler sitting on top of the statue with a calm expression. He quickly looks away. He thinks to himself that the guy is just trying to farm some aura by sitting there. He also knows that the guy has already played this game before. This makes him wonder if he is someone like Nam Sagwon. Meanwhile, the system announces that the total number of players for the game will be 200. The difficulty has been set to the lowest, and their only goal is to make it to the top 200. In other words, they can't lose this time, no matter what they do. However, the rewards will only be distributed among the top 20 ranked players. Hearing all this makes him excited. He realizes that he can play like a psycho since there is no risk of failure. After the system finishes with the tutorial, it announces that this is a duo game and players will compete in teams of 2. With this, everyone is instructed to find their partner and make a team. Players without a team will have to play alone. Seo Woon stands there, thinking about what everyone is looking for when making their teams. Since they are all meeting at the same time, they have no way of telling who can be a good partner. If they choose wrong, their teammate might become dead weight. Suddenly, he remembers that high schooler and thinks about making a team with him. However, it seems like he is a bit too late, as the guy is nowhere to be seen. After losing his potential partner, Seo Woon tries his best to find someone else to make a team, but everyone has already joined a team. It seems like he might have to play this solo, but it makes him even more excited as he thinks to himself that he will kill them all, regardless. The game finally starts, and this time he doesn't land in a safe area, but somewhere he can find good items. He wants to be the first one to land and kill anyone who comes after. Since he is the first one on the ground, he manages to count the others who are still in the air, and for what he can see, 3 other teams have landed in the area. Without wasting any time, he makes his way to the houses. After his first game, he replayed it over and over in his head, thinking about all the strategies for his second game. So, all he needed to do was follow the plan. Suddenly, he notices a player in front of him who appears to be a newbie. Without giving him any time to react, he quickly jumps into the air and hits him with his unstoppable fist spatial strike. The man asks, "Why are you attacking me?" But he receives no answer. Instead, he gets hit by another punch, knocking him out. Since this is duo mode, he has to deal a final blow. Otherwise, his teammate might revive him. Just as he squishes his head, his teammate shows up with a giant sword. The guy appears to be a knight. He hits Seo Woon with a shield, pushing him back. Seo Woon admits, this man has some incredible strength. Meanwhile, his opponent takes an offensive stance and asks, "Are you the one who killed my teammate?" Seo Woon realizes that the knight specializes in close combat. His unstoppable fist relies on his bare hands, so he needs to find a way to deal with players who use weapons. Even though it's not easy, he has practiced it enough using his shadow clones. Just the thought of trying it out in the game makes him smile. He looks up to his opponent and says, "This will be fun." The guy blindly charges forward with his sword. Seo Woon pretends like he is going to throw a punch. Just before both of their attacks collide, he opens his fist. He slightly tilts the direction of his weapon, causing it to change its trajectory. At the same time, he hits the shield, which creates an opening. Not wasting any time, he uses his spatial strike to create a hole in the opponent's armor. But he is not done just yet. He quickly grabs his helmet and strikes him using his knee, breaking it all apart. In just a few seconds, he completely dismantled the guy, who is now bleeding on the ground. He stomps on his face to finish him off. And just like that, he has the first 2 kills in the lobby. Afterwards, he absorbs their life chi. He realizes that the sword guy was pretty strong. With 1 team gone, there are 4 players left in this area. Before Seo Woon can even finish absorbing the life chi, an arrow pierces the wall in front of him, just missing his head. He immediately looks back to see where it came from, but there is no one behind him. Moments later, another arrow shoots out from the houses, this time slashing him in the face. He wonders if there are going to be more arrows. The attacker launches a bunch of them at the same time. This is too much for him to dodge on open ground, so he quickly runs for cover. As Seo Woon makes his way to the houses, he wonders if it's the archer from the previous game, since the aim is too accurate. However, the person doesn't seem that strong, so it can't be Zurikana. Still thinking about their location, he gets out of the forest and onto a rooftop. If this were the previous game, he would have been hiding in the houses and safely farming items. But this time, his game plan is a bit different, as he wants to absorb as much life chi as possible. While he is jumping on the rooftops, an arrow suddenly pierces his skull, putting a hole in him. Turns out this was a clone all along, and it just caused the archer to reveal his position. Seo Woon doesn't take long to get close to him and kicks him in the face. As the archer gets thrown back, he suddenly loses sight of him as the guy disappears in a thin air. With a shocked expression, he realizes that the archer probably has a cloak of hiding. The realization comes a bit too late, as the guy is already behind him at this point and shoots a bunch of arrows. CEO Woon manages to dodge the arrows with his insane reflexes, but it allows the archer to escape. He isn't going to let his prey walk away this easily, so he jumps down and starts chasing after him. The archer is running for his life and almost feels exhausted. So, it doesn't take long for the MC to catch up to him. After blocking his path, he tells him that he made the biggest mistake by attacking him in broad daylight, as he could have used his clock to camp and reach the top ranks. Just as he says this, another player joins the fight, and he appears to be the teammate of the archer he just cornered. The guy looks at CEO Woon and wonders where his teammate is. Meanwhile, the archer screams at him to kill him already and worry about that later. Our boy starts to realize that he might have made a mistake by not killing the archer earlier. It seems like he has to fight them 2-on-1. Even with the odds against him, he starts smiling as he realizes that he is the one who has the numerical advantage. Bro thinks he is Jin Woo. After surrounding him completely, both players launch a joint attack on him from two sides. He swiftly dodges the arrow, and it almost hits the archer's own teammate. Before they can attack again, he uses his shadow clone technique and starts running away into the alleyway. The archer isn't going to let him get away this easily, so he sends 3 arrows flying at him, and each of them hits their mark. As the archer is busy glazing his own aim, our boy sneaks up on him from above and literally puts a hole in his chest using his bare fists. After knocking one of them down, he tells them that just because their eyes tell them that he is somewhere, it doesn't mean that it's true. The other guy thinks that he is an illusionist since he is using his shadow clones to fight. CEO Woon mentions that whatever the case, he still needs to defeat him if he wants to save his ally. Hearing this, the guy suddenly charges at him with his swords. Our boy takes on the challenge and goes for a head-on counterattack. In his opinion, the key to a counter is the point where the attack comes from. In this case, he needs to close in and aim straight for the shoulder. However, all of this is easier said than done, as his opponent is just too quick for him to react. The guy manages to slash his arm and cut his chest at the same time using his other blade. All CEO Woon can do is watch, as he barely avoids getting cut to pieces. The guy says that he must be using some kind of trick since his blade wasn't able to cut as deeply as he expected. However, it still doesn't matter, as he will aim for his neck next time. The MC knows that the guy is too fast for him to counter, and this makes him a bit worried. He suddenly calms down, as he remembers that this round has no penalty for dying early. This means that he can use a risky move. His plan is to follow the guy's energy and his killing intent instead of his movement. If he can't even do this, then he doesn't really deserve to be in first place. The Jin CEO Woon in this second round was not the same as the one from the previous game. He had been training with inner energy for 2 months now and had a rare talent for using it. As he opens his eyes, he is shocked to see himself pinning the other guy to the ground. His opponent is also confused and asks him how he managed to block his ultimate attack so easily. In that moment, our boy felt like he had broken through a wall. Without wasting any more time, he kills the guy, putting his kill count of 4 and being the only player in the lobby to have any kills. Afterwards, he absorbs his inner energy and finds a healing scroll in his inventory. This is exactly what he needed to recover and start farming again. Unfortunately for him, the Cloak of Hiding is a bit damaged after the fight, which means that he can't use it without repairing it. With that item, he could have reached the top ranks easily. Despite the cloak having no use, he decides to keep it in his inventory in the hopes of repairing it later. In addition to the cloak, he also finds a lightning bow in the archer's loot box. As he picks up the bow to try it, he thinks to himself that he didn't really feel any lightning energy from the arrows shot by the archer. The bow also comes with a manual, which means that the guy wasn't originally an archer and just learned to use the bow with this book. Once he learns the book, he tries his shooting skills. And to his surprise, this bow seems to be much better than the one he had in the first round. With 4 players down, there's only 1 team left in the area, but our boy still thinks that it's better to farm a bit before hunting for them. He can't really find anything good in the houses nearby until his eyes fall on the clock tower at the center. Places like these are usually the best spots to farm, so he decides to give it a try. The opening door is closed, which gives him a bit more confidence, since it means that no one has entered the tower. For his own safety, he decides to close the door behind him. All of his expectations are shattered when he finds nothing in the entire tower. Our boy starts fuming and says, "This game can really mess you up sometimes." Just as he is blaming the system, He notices two players making their way into the nearby houses, probably searching for items. He thinks to himself that they might have some good items, so he should just avoid them. However, it seems like they're looking for trouble as he watches them entering the tower. Seeing that the door is closed, they think that nobody is inside, not knowing that our boy is at the top, watching their every move. The team finds a healing scroll at the entrance and gets excited. Meanwhile, our boy quietly makes his way down the stairs, thinking that they are probably new players since they are getting excited about a healing scroll. My man literally skydives on top of them in order to strike first, just because they're weaklings. That's all for today. For the next part, make sure to subscribe my channel Fire Recap. And you don't forget to share and like the video. I am out.